You see, we are created in a magnificent vibration, in an absolutely magnificent vibration. Born risk takers. Free. That conditioning takes place after birth. You can change it. It takes guts. It takes goals. Do you know something? You're sitting there watching this and you're thinking, my God, I'm going to change something. I always say, keep reminding yourself that you have tremendous reservoirs of potential within you, and therefore you are quite capable of doing anything you set your mind to. You really can. I don't care what the cynics tell you. Quit listening to some of your peers. Now, all you must do is figure out how you can do it, not whether you can or not. When are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? You've got to create a sense of urgency. I'm going to do it right now.
If you can see it, you can do it. But the beautiful truth is you can do anything. We got to know there is a place. There is a specific frequency. And if you get on that frequency, you're going to attract what you need to you. This is what it's all about. Why have you been endowed with such awesome powers? If you'll make a committed decision, this I'm going to do. And you don't have to know how. You do not have to know how. The second you make the committed decision, you flip your brain onto the frequency that you have to be on to attract what you have to attract to manifest the thing that you want. If you can see it, you can do it. It's got to be something you want. Wants come from inside. Act like you're already there. Walk, talk, speak, live like you're already there. Don't set a small goal. Don't set something that doesn't really wind your stem. Set it so big it jazzes you. It really gets you going. When something of a very high nature resonates with the very high side of you, you'll know it. You'll know it. You will feel it. Feeling is conscious awareness of vibration. The only prerequisite, do you want it? Not do you need it, not could you do it. The only prerequisite is, do you want it? Take the lid off your marvelous mind and dream. For goodness sake, give yourself the right to do that. Get your analytical mind out of the way. Put it in your pocket for a while. All you're doing is exploring, daydreaming. What did Lawrence say? All men dream, but not equally. Those who dream by night in the dusty recesses of their mind waken the day to find that it was vanity. But the dreamers of the day are dangerous men, for they may act their dream with open eyes to make it possible. This I did.
Welcome to Freedom, Health and Lifestyle, Personal Development with a Business Plan. And of course, Joey and I are here every week, usually around about the same time. And of course, look, this is episode 133, and we're going to get into the secret of self-image. Changing how you see yourself changes everything, right? So we're going to get into a bit of this. But again, look, this is all about thinking and doing better, because that's what everybody wants. Everybody wants better. You know, whether it's better health, better finances, better mental, state, whatever it is, we all want better. And, like we were talking about last week, it starts with thinking, right? But look, don't forget, like, subscribe, share, click the notification button. You'll learn when we're on, usually around the same time every week, right? And of course, you can go and find me at petsofthesylum.com/academy. And of course, you can find Joey on Facebook at facebook.com/Joye.Unga. Go and check him out. We all know Joey as the $1 Million Difference Maker, Joye Unga, right? That's what he is, and excited to hear what Joey's got to say today. Say hello, Joey.
Hey, Mike. Good day, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Both of us are so grateful today that we are able to come together and also share our 133 episode. We come a long way, everybody, and so happy and very grateful for you for leading the field always, leading by example, and your word has inspired me. And I believe it will inspire a lot of people. Whether in today or tomorrow or down on the track, I truly believe that what we share with the people, because you always share from the heart, you always want people to succeed, and that impact that you instill in other people's life, including myself, is something that I will never forget. So I just want to
Appreciate
say
that, Joe.
thank you for the opportunity to be with you every Sunday. Um, you know, um, Going on the weekend with the army and training and exercise, but I think this is more exciting to me because I know we're going to make an impact in people's lives. So thank you for
That's
having
the
me.
truth. And that is the truth, Joey. Do you know what I mean? And you're a great example of that too. There's no doubt about it, and it is nice to be appreciated and get thanks. In fact, I got a message from a young lady this morning. I was asking her if she had she was doing her driving lessons. This is a young lady that works for my organization, and she was doing driving lessons. And I just messaged her this morning, and she said, "Yeah, I was doing my lessons, but I took my test and I failed." And that can be so disappointing, especially for a young person.
Mm.
And I was look, don't worry about it. Fail is just the first attempt in learning. You've learned something what not to do. Now you can be better. And she sent me a little note back saying, "You're so supportive and kind," and that's really what it's about. It's about trying to uplift other people, and as a result, it lifts you up too, Joe. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's important. Again, we're going to get into a video here, right? I don't think it's very long. I'm not sure. We've seen a short of this before. This is the winner's mentality, or but it comes down to that self-image thing. So we'll get into it, Joe, and we'll have a conversation along the way and see if we can understand a little bit more, about how, when you change your self-image, everything else starts to change around you. And we've talked about this many times from the perspective of how you create your environment, by your attitude, by how you think about it. And of course, it always brings me back to this quote: "You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, you've got to build a new model that makes the old model obsolete." And what we're talking about is that self-image model, and how do you change your thinking? How do it was in the video, walk, talk, act like you're already there. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, listen, well, let's get into this, and then we can see what we really think about it, right?
This is an absolutely beautiful world that you and I are a part of. And our stay here should be a magnificent adventure. It should never be a bore. We were created to have and enjoy all the good that life has to offer. You're God's greatest creation, and you are meant to win. Unfortunately, not everyone views the world or their life the same way. Some see it as a very harsh, cruel world, and they're forever struggling to make ends meet or keep a relationship together. It seems they're forever running on a treadmill, going nowhere, never taking the time to enjoy what they have or to see the beauty of the world that they're a part of. Have you ever asked yourself what differentiates the winners from the masses? Well, I have. I've researched the subject now for over a quarter of a century, and I have found that the winners are aware of a certain place within. It's referred to as the higher self. And in this higher self, there's an image of perfection, which is forever attempting to express itself in a greater way. When the winner wants to turn their dreams into physical realities, they call on this higher self. And they set about and change the world, not just for themselves, but for everyone in it. Think of what Edison did. He illuminated the entire world. Alexander Graham Bell hooked us all together. Why, we can just hit a couple of buttons and be talking to a loved one on the other side of the globe. And the Wright brothers, they actually brought us closer together. They introduced us to a brand new kingdom and changed our perception of the world forever. Why, do you know we're not a long ways away from anywhere anymore? We're only hours away. I could be working with Francis McDonald conducting a seminar in Halifax, Nova Scotia one day, and be way over in Australia with David Walsh doing the same thing the next. And then if I chose, I could just jump on a plane and fly off to Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia and be working with Jeet Singh Peter there the following day. We wouldn't be able to do any of those things without the Bells, the Edisons, and the Wrights. And of course, there's been many other people just like them. As a matter of fact, you and I are just like them. Now, you may be saying, oh, no, we're really not, but we really are. The only difference is our perception of ourselves, how we see ourselves, our awareness of this higher place, this higher self within, and perhaps in the results we're getting. Anyone that has ever done any research into human potential will be quick to tell you that you have infinite potential. You've been blessed with exactly the same mental faculties as the Bells or the Wrights. And the same power flows to and through you that flew through them. Now, do you know that you can take and build the most magnificent dream in your mind? And by following the instructions in this program, we're going to show you how to turn them into results.
Hey, Joe. So obviously, Bob's talking about the You Were Born Rich, webinar that he put on. And of course, that you can get that on YouTube. It's remastered. I was watching it again there last week. I love watching it. Do you know what I mean? There's always new stuff in it. But this higher self, this perception of ourselves and this power that's flowing to and through you, right? What do you make of all of this?
First of all, I like how Bob always reminds that we are God's highest form of creation, and whether you're a believer or not, totally respect, and we all have something to believe in, whether it's in God or Allah or you can name it, Buddha or whatever. But we're not here to judge any faith or believer or any religion. We share our own experience, and I think that's one of our disclosure.
Hey, listen, even if you believe in nothing, nothing is still something. Do you know what I mean? So.
Yes. So true. And I love how it for myself it resonates with my faith. It remind me that someone was higher have been created me, have designed me and put me in this world for a purpose. And because of our connection with the higher, level of infinity or creation, we have some tremendous excess of abundance and prosperity in us. And I like how he reminds us that we've been created so that we can enjoy the abundance of this world. We're not created to just end just enough, or just get lacking. We were born to be rich or to be healthy, to be have abundance and prosperity. And I love how we were born to be win in life. And the sad thing for me, because not everyone have want to learn how they exist in this world. They never come to a time they realize I was born to be win. I was born to be success. I was born to get more in life, But because of that, we are going back to the one of our program from previous one about the paradigm. It's holding us back because that's the program we grow up. We grow up in maybe in a family that said, just be happy with what we got, because we don't have enough money or something to buy you or, get you a better education. And because of that program has been instilled to us, we grow up with the self-image of lacking or, limited. But we're supposed to have abundance in our life. And how we do that is we dig in, deep in to our inner self. In our inner self is not what the people see in us, but what we see within us because of what
Joey,
we
explain
have.
that image, right? Explain that image that I've got on the screen, right? Because he's talking about this power that's flowing to and through you, right?
Mm,
And this is an image that you're familiar with. I know you've got it on your wall behind you, actually. You know,
yeah.
and how does this image, relate to that perception of ourselves, for one, right?
Mm,
And
mm.
then, of course, how do we then how do we then get to that higher self, and obviously use that power that he's talking about, which is flowing to and through you, you know?
Yeah. Our mind is a very powerful tools. We can use it to cook as a food, or just like the fire, or we can use to downgrade our life, because a lot of people misunderstand the concept. And because we have the privilege to learn from one of the best in personal development, personal growth, we understand that the mind is the activity around our brain. And it's like something that is behind what we thought is the physical being that we see. And then we realize that the brain is part of the body, because it's the activity that happened around. And the mind is coming in two parts: is the conscious mind and also the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is where we make the decision whether we like it or not. We watch a news on the television of what currently happen now, and whether we like the decision of those people who start the activity that happen around the world or not. um, we have a choice in our conscious mind. And how the information get into our conscious mind, it's through our senses, what we hear, what we taste, what we see. um and because our mind is like it's got some antenna there. There's a transmission of a lot of information or signals, and our conscious mind, it filter that, whether I like this, I don't like this. I'm happy with that, I don't happy with that. But as soon you accept an idea, that's when it goes to your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind, we call it the heart. And that's what a lot of people, we refer that. That's when we have a feeling about something that we see, and we think, okay, it's connected to me. I feel emotion about it. It feel resonate with me. And when the ideas goes from the conscious mind to the subconscious mind, that's when you feel like, I'm going to do something about my life. I'm ahead enough. I'm sick of doing the same thing every day, and get the same result. I'm going to build something new to make the old image that happened, I grow up with, obsolete, so I can become a better version of myself. And then when you have that feeling, your feeling make you move, make you take action. Whether you, for example, weight loss, whether you overweight, you hate about yourself, and because you feel bad about yourself, you don't you know have productive at work. You don't feel like motivation. But when you get into action and you start eating healthy, start walking, start reading something positive, and your results start to change from your current result or current situation to a different result. And that's how our brain, and that picture there, when we understand that concept of how our mind works, um, and connected to our action that get the result that we want, it's so amazing. Because I won't be here talking to you, Mike, or share something, because I make that committed decision that I'm going to change my life. And I start reading books, maybe watching a video, and then I reach out to people like Bob Proctor, that I need to be coached in that, and I invest my money, time. But it's one of the best things that I ever did, because it opened my mind to realize that I have a reservoir of power within me. I was born to be successful. I was born to take risk. I think one thing that I always listen when every time we play the video at the very beginning and the last, I learn something new. I see something in me on that video. And today, the thing that connected to me and pick up by my conscious my conscious mind and link to my heart, I always a risk taker. And not that I put myself in a situation to kill myself, but I always challenge myself. I always said, let me have a go. And if it won't help me, why not? I don't want to live with regret. I want to live with, enjoying that I make a decision to go ahead, to move forward. And I think on my Facebook, one of my things that I put on my bio, life is not chasing the happiness, but happily, achieving happiness. There's a difference from that. That's why, when you shift your mindset, the way you think, your action, your feeling will totally different. So instead of achieving, life is not about achieving happiness, but it's happily achieving it by doing something, think and feel and act in a certain way to get you there.
Yeah, no, you're right, Joe. I like that for sure, and I like what you have on the, on your Facebook page. Life. Hold on, I'll show it to everybody. Life is not about achieving happiness. Life is about happily achieving, and that makes a lot of sense, right? And it is. I mean, we kind of forget, and it ties into what Bob Proctor was talking about, in that first part, where people are just kind of rushing around. They don't take the time to be grateful for what they have. Do you know what I mean? Even in the understanding that you're not settling for that, but you're grateful that you have it, but you can have more, and you can do more, and you can be more, and that's the purpose, of this higher self. In that video as well, I hear it every week. He's talking about guts and goals. I was listening to somebody on the way here, and I was listening to, a TikTok live, and they were just, they were talking and talking and talking, they're talking about work and how they hated work and everything else, and, how they're just looking forward to retiring and all this kind of stuff. And, I was listening to them, and they were saying, oh, yeah, I just can't understand why my life is like this kind of stuff. And immediately in my mind, it's like, because you don't have any fucking goals. Do you know what I mean? I didn't say anything, because it's not for me to say, I was just listening. And I'm thinking, like, if you don't have any goals, what are you working towards? Nothing.
Mhm.
You're just living the same day over and over again. Eat, sleep, repeat. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of us I've done it myself for years. Do you know what I mean? But even then, I still had goals, but they were work-orientated goals. Do you know what I mean? That next position, that next position, that next position, until you get right to the very top of the tree, and then you realize, this isn't even what I want to do, right? And it's not what you think it's going to be. But again, this that image, there's no doubt that explains the mind and the let me see, hold on a second, share this tab. Yeah, this one. It's everything that you were talking about. I mean, you're talking about the thinking mind, the thoughts, the conscious mind. You can see there, the sensors along the top, those little antennas that you were talking about, hear, see, smell, touch, taste, and the thoughts, just exactly as you were saying, can reject or originate ideas. And this, so this is all that stuff that you're being bombarded with all the time, Joey, that you were talking about. Do you know what I mean? All these things. But at the same time, you can have those creative thoughts. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago with those brainwave, patterns. We were talking about the beta brainwave. This is where you kind of just, you're talking about it last week. This is just your operating system. Do you know what I mean? And then you've got that subconscious mind, which is all about the feelings, working in the feelings area, must accept all information impressed upon it. That is dangerous, isn't it? That is so dangerous when you think about that. When you think about how we leave our mind open, and not guarded at all to the things that we're kind of putting into it. You were talking about it just a moment ago. when you were saying what was happening in the world and the things like this, and the fear that that could create for someone, and how it could, just mentally paralyze you from taking any action that you really want to take. Controls the vibration of the body, and of course the body, that little bit at the bottom, controls the actions and behaviors of our personality. These are the thoughts and feelings. Like this could be complicated stuff. Do you know what I mean? But I don't think you need to have a complete understanding of it. I think you just need to be aware of it, that you can control, how you perceive the environment. Because I think a lot of it, Joe, is about perception. Like you and I, or you and somebody else could witness, like a traffic accident, and your instinct might be to go in and try and help, and their instinct might be to kind of run away. It could be that flight or fight instinct. Do you know what I mean? So there's all, people respond and react differently to different circumstances. And, I think you've got to control how you perceive those circumstances, because they're different for everybody. So there's no doubt this stuff is complicated. And when you were talking, I was thinking about, that what you'd mentioned earlier, you've got the spirit, the intellect, and the physical, and this is really what it's about. Do you know what I mean? You have those things, don't you? But again, I do love that little image. It is a good one, isn't it?
Yeah. The stick man.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
It's
It
funny.
does make a lot of sense.
It's funny, we draw that in primary school back in the island, and never thought that this is a very powerful concept, this little stick man.
Yeah.
And when Bob bring that idea from a friend that he worked with him, or he went to saw him, because Bob always educate himself. And I think that's one of the things that if you want to grow in life, you gotta be hungry to learn, through study, reading, or just find a mentor, find someone that you attractive to you, and you want to achieve what they want, they already achieve, and just follow what they do. And I think that's what Bob was successful, even though he was already earned million in cleaning industry with his businesses. But when he downgrade himself and want to be a student, and went and work for the Conan and Earl Nightingale, and his life was changed. And after that, he went and built a empire, consultant business. And before he passed away, that's one of his goals, is to build a business all over the world. And I think he accomplished that before he passed away. But that's how powerful, when you understand the concept of the mind connected to your feeling and the action that you provide for the service to the world or the marketplace, and whatever you want to achieve in life, you can accomplish that.
It's true. Joey, it is funny, isn't it? Because you got to act on, he talks about it in the first, we'll watch that video again at the end, do you know, because he does talk about it. He talks about having to take action. You have to take action. You've got to take deliberate action. You talk about it, intentionally act on the thing that you want. And that's where the courage really kicks in. That's where the goals are important. That's why, understanding this mind concept, of thinking. We were talking last week about how, what is it? 95% of people don't think, or whatever it was, whatever that crazy statistic was, and because then, their operating system, they're not in control of their operating system. They're not updating their operating system. They're just running on autopilot, which is great. Do you know what I mean? Like, ignorance is bliss in that sense. And that's why, I've said so many times before, once you become aware of this stuff and self-aware like this, there is no excuses anymore. You're responsible for everything. Do you know what I mean? Not what happens, but how you respond and react to everything. Every time I have a crossword to my wife, I'm responsible for that. I didn't have to act that way. I didn't have to say those things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, so like, yeah, it's bloody hard when you start figuring this stuff out. You know how, you know, you can be better. I used to always say, you know, I'm perfect in my imperfect way, until I realized that was like something that I was saying to myself, which was allowing me to make excuses for not being better. Do you know what I mean? Because you can always be better, always. And we should definitely do that. We should definitely do that. Lead the field and watch that. It's been a while since I've watched that. We should definitely watch that.
Yeah.
And review it. You know. But anyway, listen. Let's get back to listening to Bob. And let me see. Hold on a second. We're only 3 minutes in to this bloody video. Are we only 3 minutes in? Okay.
So listen to the program the way you're instructed. Follow your exercise book. You're going to develop what we've referred to as a winner's image.
Staying late again?
Yep, got prospect calls to summarize.
You really need to switch to Monday CRM. Your old CRM is holding you back.
My CRM is not old.
Science and psychology have isolated the one prime cause of success or failure in life, and it is the hidden self-image that every person has. Do you know it controls our life just as certain as our mind controls our heartbeat? Now, to remake that hidden self-image for success and fulfillment, to build a winner's image, is to remake our life. If you're wondering what kind of a self-image you have, it's not difficult to figure it out. All it's required is for you to take a look at the various aspects of your life. Take a look at the results you're getting, possibly your relationships, your income, the position you hold at work, the type of business that you're operating with. Take a look at your own personal appearance. These are all the results. They're the outer expression of the inner image. Now, as we alter this inner image, everything outside begins to change. One of the great errors that almost everyone makes is they're attempting to change their income. They're attempting to change their position. They're attempting to change their business. They're attempting to change something outside of themselves without changing what's going on inside. It's like, I think it was Emerson said, of what use to make heroic vows of amendment if the same old lawbreaker is going to keep them? You know, for me to try and change the results in my life, in other words, what's going on outside of me, without changing what's going on inside, would be just about as foolish for me to try and change the reflection of this mirror without changing my physical appearance. It's never going to happen. Well, that's what people are doing. They're trying to change something outside without changing what's going on inside. In 1903, James Allen wrote a marvelous little book. And in that book, he said something that's rich with truth. He said, mind is the master power that molds and makes. And man is mind. And evermore he takes the tool of thought and shaping what he wills, brings forth 1,000 joys or 1,000 ills. He thinks in secret, and it comes to pass. Our environment is but our looking glass. As you
Right, hold on, Joe, because we can't just go beyond that, because, you know, like, change inside shows on the outside. And, you know, look, talk to me about it. Tell me what your thoughts are.
Funny, I had a friend a while ago that this is like maybe four years now. He asked me the same question about that part of our self-image or our winner image. And you know, like you said, it can be complicated because a lot of people, it takes time to understand. It takes time to really grasp the idea and perspective of it, because not everyone wants to learn about this concept, you know. So, but I think for me, is what Bob said. If you want to really find out your inner image or your self-image that we call, because a lot of people thought, oh, my self-image is when I go and look at the mirror. And we had a lot of people say, go take a look at the mirror, you know. And I think a lot of people can have a misconception about that, because if it's that person look at the mirror and he's overweight and he doesn't look healthy, he might be thinking, oh, this is me. But the actual truth is what is inside is in his mind, his conscious mind, and his especially the subconscious mind. What is the thing that can really connect? And it's come down to what they really, really want in life. And I think, when we talk about the self-image, Bob used to say, to really find out what is your real, your true inner image or self-image is the basic thing that you then first look at it. It's show me your result. Show me your result. Whether it's show me your bank account. Show me, your relationship. Show me your achievement in your current position, whether you work or not. Show me your result. And the result is the good indicator of whether you like your job or not, whether you enjoy doing your business or your calling that you want to do in life. That will reflect because because that's how you show up every day. It depends on what you see inside of you, and like I said, it can be misunderstanding by a lot of things. And I hear a lot of people go take a look at yourself at the mirror, and all I see the physical outside of me, but no one can see the inside of me. No one see what I really really want in life. You know, and it could be like like an example could be the business that we build. People will, oh, but you haven't got the result that you, but they don't see the inside of me. It's always want to expand, always want to grow, always want to challenge. And that's what I want. I want more of me because I know when I build myself to the level of the success and the abundance and the prosperity that I really deserve in life, that's when the door open up. And the thinking grow rich, there's a uh, page there talk about when rich and abundance start to come, you better be ready for it. And that's why, the result, it's at this point of my life, in I use it in building my business. I used to think I'm not success yet, and the results have no so yet, and it kind of sometimes let me said, do I really want to do this? And you start to self-doubt, start to question what you do. But when you understand, it's what inside of you that make you a successful person. It's not outside of you, you know. So it's who you really want to become from inside. Whether you want to achieve happiness, or you want to be happily achieving it by showing up every day, no matter what, rain, you know, sun and storm. You just keep showing up because I will get there. It might be not tomorrow, but everything in life is worthwhile. Take time, take some skill, take some experience. And like you said, fail is the first attempt in learning. And that's why we do what we do, and we're passionate about it because the impact, it's more than than the result that we see now. Because it's only take a few people to make a massive impact in our professional. And that from your experience, Mike, because I heard you share your story, before, when you first build your first organization. It only take a few people. It's not, and you sorting out every day. You keep looking, you keep searching, you keep the conversation on and on, because you see yourself. No one else see it. It's only you see it. It doesn't matter what people see you from outside, whether
Yeah,
you are fat bastard or you are good looking or
true.
you're, but it's what you see inside that make the difference. That set you apart from other people.
And Joe, look, you can break your life down into different aspects. Do you know what I mean? Whether it be, health, finances, relationships, work, business, whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? So you can have all these quadrants, and some of them you might be really good in, and others you might not be great in. Do you know what I mean? And that's fine. And all of those are related to self-image, every one of them. Do you know what I mean? Like you could have relationships where your self-image is way up here, and then you could have other relationships where your self-image is way down here because of how those people have maybe made you feel or treated you in the past and everything else. And you're carrying this emotional baggage. Do you know what I mean? It's about unloading that baggage. Isn't that when you're talking about people don't see what's going on the inside, they only see what's on the outside, which is why, in essence, that it is important to walk, talk, and act like you're already there, because it does build that self-confidence, self-image, self-esteem, all of those types of things. But people want everything, they want it right now. And you talk a lot about, it doesn't happen overnight, it happens over time, right? And I say to a lot of people, especially, people who are coming into my business and, and they're expecting things to happen right away. And I always tell them, the reward comes after you do the work. It doesn't come before, it comes after, right? You got to do the work. And that work does include failure, learning. And it's the same with you and I. We have to do the work on ourselves to build ourselves internally, in order for us to become worthy for those things to come to us. Because it's not going to come to you. The rewards aren't going to come just because you've thought about it and because you're fucking delusionally wishing it to happen. I hear people talking about manifesting stuff, but they don't take any action. They don't do anything. But they don't manifest anything either. Do you know what I mean? So, look, the reward comes for me after you do the work. You got to do the work. And whether that's on yourself, and I think it is first, I think you got to do it on you first. Do you know what I mean? You have to believe. Like we're putting together this academy at the moment. And one of the things in the academy, I was doing a little bit of work on it this morning. And the first part of the training is, mindset, how to treat it like a real business. Do you know what I mean? Mindset, because it's so important that you get in the right frame of mind, so that you can be thinking in the right way, about it. And, and it doesn't matter what business you're in. If you treat it like a hobby, it's always going to be a hobby. If you treat it like a business, like I love network marketing as a concept. Do you know what I mean? And as a model, because if you treat that like a business, you can have businesses or business partners in nearly every corner of the world. And like people would often dream of opening up a store or a bakery or something like this, and opening up a network marketing business is no different than opening up a store or any other business. It's just the way that we think about it in our mind. We don't treat it like that. We give ourselves excuses why not to make a call today, or I'll do it tomorrow. And you talk about doing it now. Do it now. Do you know what I mean? Give it a go. What's the worst that can happen? Someone's going to say no. Like, do you know what? Like even in my business, we get lots of people saying no to us every day. Every day. I don't go home and cry in bed. Do you know what I mean? But then we have a lot of people that say yes to us every day too. I set up a new thing, Joe. You're probably familiar with Calendly, right? And like we get so many people, looking to come and work for us, coming to work in our organization, and we get applications, and I send them a message, say, look, drop me a message, and we'll set up a video call. Because I love doing video calls, to meet new people, get to see all the little expressions, things like that. And what I found was that, I'd just be constantly texting people back, right, okay. And I thought, right, okay, I'm just going to use Calendly here. Do you know what I mean? So I sent out, it was about 20 emails that went out to people on Friday and before, what I would have done is just sent them out, and it would have had my telephone number on it for them to reach out to me and set up an appointment. But I put in the Calendly link this time, and then I checked my diary then this morning. I've got calls scheduled in for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And I thought, bloody hell, this was so much easier. I didn't have to get a phone call from anybody. I didn't have to receive a message from somebody. They've just gone in, chosen a time, chosen the day, and it's just booked in the calendar. Do you know what I mean? And I'm thinking, oh my God, that's so much easier. a better use of my time. And just having a little workflows like that, just makes my life easier. So, but again, the reward still just comes after you do the work. That was, the truth was, Joe, I was working hard before that. And then we applied that principle, still work hard, but work smart too. Now I've just got maybe an hour or two of my work week back just by setting up a simple thing like that. But that reward came from me doing the work, and the work was thinking about it, thinking about how can I do it differently. Instead of doing it the same, I thought about it and did it differently to get a better result. So you got to work on yourself, haven't you? You've got to be constantly working on yourself and thinking,
Yeah.
and then implementing, trying it.
Yeah.
We don't.
And
It's not easy, Joey. I'm not claiming that I'm better than anybody else. I'm not. I'm having to work hard on myself constantly.
Yeah.
Sometimes just to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah.
And
It's like they said, you keep sharpening the axe. Otherwise, it get blunt and you can't cut the tree. You have to stay sharp. You have to stay hungry. And I love how you say, you treat your business like a business, and it's so true. One of the great advice that resonate with what you're sharing, if you open up a bakery shop, it's not it's exactly the same. If you want to start a business in network marketing, you gotta, my mentor told me, you gotta treat it like your own business. No one else take full responsibility that the success and the profit of your business, it's on you. And that's why, a lot of people are, they told me I don't have the time, I don't have the money, and those are good reason for them to exit, from the blessing that I was about to give them, only because a lot of the people they want it now, but they don't understand. It's like the farmer planting a seed in the soil. It take time, he can't just plant it there and hope that God will make fruit, or produce good fruit. It will produce some, in some events, but unfortunately you have to look after that seed. You have to cultivate it, watering it, maybe put some fertilizer on it, or feed it with the right nutrition, that maybe one day it will produce the fruit that you really want in life. It might be not happen this year or next year, maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years. One of the great things about our professional, in our business model, is you need to work on it. The farmer need to work on it, on himself every single day. And we know when we are not working in ourselves, that we don't open the shop that day.
yeah,
We go out and talk to people and invite people to take a look. And I think, we all guilty of that, because someday we don't open the shop, and we're doing a disservice for people, that we come in contact with, but great concept. It's all come down to what is inside of you. Who do I want to become? What impact do I really want to make? Don't, forget about the other people's opinion of you, because that's not your business. Your business is what I really want, and take action toward what I really want. Think about it. Think what are you really want in life, and connect it with your heart. Ask question. Why do I really want to do this? It's for my family. It's for the legacy of my kids and my children. It's our retirement. What we're gonna have in our retirement. Because when you ask those questions, they said make your why so that you become cry. And when that means you connected to what you really want. Because if you connected to it, that's why you showing up every single day. You show up no matter whether there's other people work with you. You just keep showing up. And I'm saying this because tomorrow I'm doing a social event. I'm by myself. You know, Mike, I used to do it, and I think, man, I'm the only one doing it because I let my external being dictate what what I really want and what I take action in. And I was thinking, what my family look at me, look at that city guy. But I get to a point now, I'm doing because this is what I want to. I want to make an impact in people's health, maybe finance, and I enjoy. That's happiness for me when I can touch one soul and that person say yes, and he go out there and do the same thing to make an impact in other people's life. For me, that's happiness because I
Yeah.
can close my eyes and smile, knowing that someone out there I make a difference in someone out there life, and he will go on and do the same thing to other people's.
And Joey, like I was only saying last night, actually, I was on another call last night, um, and I was only saying that that's what it's all about. That's what my life is certainly all about. It's about helping people feel better about something that makes them feel bad, and it's
Mm,
about giving them the ability to have less hassle, less stress in their life. And we do that through the services that we provide, and of course you do it through the products and services that you provide as well. It's the exact same thing, Joe. you
mm,
know but someone has to someone has to want that change for themselves first. They've got to be looking for something, they've got to be open to something, and not everybody's open all of the time. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes people have got some real things that they're going through, and obviously, timing is important, and that's why it's important to be consistent, to be open for business
mm,
all of the
mm,
time. Do you know what I
mm,
mean? To be able to listen, just like the people in my organization, just like that person, who's learning to drive a car. Like if she could drive a car, we would have more work for her to do, right? So her circumstances are dictating that she can't do that much work for us because she can't travel, she can't drive. Now, as soon as that changes, the timing changes. Do you know what I
mm.
mean? Because
Yeah,
now
yeah.
more opportunity. Do you know what I mean?
Mm,
So,
mm,
and these are things, that these are those stepping stones in life that you have to get to. This is where that growth comes. Her learning to drive is growth. It's personal growth, and it
mm,
changes then her environment. It changes her circumstances as to what she can and can't do,
mm.
that she couldn't do before, to what she
Yeah.
can do now. So learning to drive is self-education. Do you know what I mean? But we don't see it as that. We just see it as one of those social constructs that everybody does.
Mm,
To
mm.
drive, you learn to
Yeah.
go to work, you learn to do this, you learn to do that. But this other stuff that we're talking about, learning about how you communicate with yourself. When what I'm talking about is I'm talking about the conscious mind, where the thoughts, all of the power that we were talking about, moving in, coming in, and then how we push that down into that subconscious, that communication, you
Mm,
know, and then it does manifest through your body with the results that you get through your actions. What actions you take. Your results are dictated by your actions, and your actions, come from in here. Like, geez, Joey, this stuff is too deep. It's too deep. Right, I'm going to listen just to that last section again, because he said
mm,
something right at the very end that jumped out at me, and then we're going to get your final thoughts, right?
yeah.
I just want to hear this bit again.
Would be just about as foolish for me to try and change the reflection of this mirror without changing my physical appearance. It's never going to happen. Well, that's what people are doing. They're trying to change something outside without changing what's going on inside. In 1903, James Allen wrote a marvelous little book. And in that book, he said something that's rich with truth. He said, mind is the master power that molds and makes. And man is mind. And evermore he takes the tool of thought and shaping what he wills, brings forth 1,000 joys or 1,000 ills. He thinks in secret.
That he thinks in secret. And that's what you were talking about, Joe, just a moment ago, where you were saying that no one knows what's going on inside. They don't know you inside here. Do you know what I
Mm,
mean? They only know
yeah.
what you present to them.
Mm,
And
mm,
he's talking about he thinks in secret. And that's a phrase now that's going to stick with me, because I want to try and understand that, because this is what I'm talking about, Joey. You know, certainly when I talk, you know, I'm just going to write things in secret, right? I just want to write that down. Just so, because when you write it down, it sticks a little bit better, right? And it becomes about being aware of those secret thoughts, if that makes sense. You know, those thoughts that you know when you're driving and you get somewhere and then you're like, oh, how did I even get here? You can't even remember the journey. You know, those thoughts, those automatic kind of thoughts that you have, those habitual thoughts, those things that do dictate, you know, what you do and when you do it and how you do it and things like that. It's about being aware of those secret thoughts, you know, because then you can catch yourself in a lie, Joey. Because some of the stuff we tell ourselves about ourselves, it's just total lies. You know, those self-limiting beliefs or whatever else. These secret thoughts, you know, that need to be exposed and the light needs to be shown on them. And the only one person that can do it is me. You know, I can only do it for myself. No one can do it for me, because just exactly as you say, you know, no one can see inside of your head. Do you know what I mean? No one's there. Only you are there. But then, but you know, when we're talking about being there, a lot of the time we're not there. We're off daydreaming. Do you know what I mean? Doing whatever we're doing. Do you know what I mean? And it's those secret thoughts that are really kind of controlling our behaviors. We were talking about paradigms and different things like this, you know, the other week. So, you know, I'll send you this video, Joe, so that you can watch it in full. Right? And we can chat about it later. I'll send it to you. Hold on. And then we'll get your final thoughts on the secret of self-image. And changing how you see yourself changes everything. It does, you know, there's no doubt about it. And your results never you were talking about this, you know, your results will never outgrow how you see yourself. You know, changing your self-image and everything else starts to change. And, you know, clearly, Joey, that this is something that you have gone through, where you changed in your self-image. Like when I think, you know, of the pitiful kind of image of you lying in that hospital bed, you know, you must have been feeling so fucking sorry for yourself. Do you know what I mean? At that moment, do you know what I mean? You know, like, why me? You know, how does this happen to me? Do you know what I mean? All of these things must be going through your head. And then there must have been this shift, a complete shift. Do you know what I mean? In your own self-image. And when I think about, you know, what you have done, you know, just in a very few short years, and I'm not, you know, listen, it doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time, but it doesn't need to be like a long bit of time. It can be 2, 3, 4 short years. Do you know what I mean? You know, to make to make things happen. But again, this comes down to, you know, you making decisions, and you did make decisions, you know, and some of them I imagine were decisions that were, you know, I was talking about this on a call last Tuesday, that we, you know, that we don't change until we make decisions that put us outside of our comfort zone. Do you know what I mean? And obviously you've done that, and we did it with this. Do you know what I mean? So you do have to make decisions that put you outside your comfort zone, right? And that's where the growth really starts happening. That's where you start learning about yourself, you know, what you're capable of. And that's where that self-belief comes from. That self-image starts to develop and starts to grow. You start to feel stronger inside. You know what I mean? You start to feel that, you know, that you can, you know, you can do more, you can be more. And it's okay to want those things. It's not selfish. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Right. We want to get Joey's final thoughts, right? Episode 133, The Secret of Self-Image. Changing how you see yourself changes everything. And of course, you can find Joey on Facebook at, in fact, I'll just show, where else you can find Joey. Actually, I'll just share it. Hold on. Okay. Hold on. Why is this? Is this the? It is. I'll just refresh that page and then we'll show it. Hold on. Let me get rid of myself for a second. Oh, can you hear me? Right, I'm back.
Oh, good.
Yeah, all good. Yeah, I'm back. So obviously you couldn't hear me there. I was sharing your screen, telling people where they could find you. And of course, you can find Joey here at Facebook. Life is not about achieving happiness. Life is about happily achieving. And if you're looking at doing something different and achieving more, definitely go to Joey's Isogenics page, which is joyunga1.isogenics.com. And of course, scroll to the very bottom of this page. You'll see there's a contact form all the way down here. All you need is your name, best email, phone number, and best time to call. Give Joey a contact form, and he'll be in touch to tell you a little bit more about what he's doing and how maybe he can help you achieve like he is doing. But listen, I'm excited to hear Joey's final thoughts, episode 133, The Secret of Self-Image. Changing how you see yourself changes everything. And of course, there's Joey's Facebook page. Those links are in the description now as well, so you can find them there. And of course, we know him as Joey, the $1 Million Difference Maker, Maka Unga. Right. Take it away, Joey.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks everyone. If you're watching this or you're watching the replay, me and Mike just want to let you know we are so proud of you. There must be a reason why you're here. Maybe you're searching for some solution in life. Maybe you're searching for some self-image evaluation or reality check in your life. And tonight we just want to remind you, you are God's highest form of creation. We are spiritual being living in a physical body, and spiritual, it's always looking to expand and express in a increasing way, positive way, in a nature that can grow, in a nature that can develop. And we talk about self-image tonight. We talk a lot of things about the mind, and it can be overwhelmed, but we want to keep it simple. You know, our mind is what refined our feeling, refine our action toward the result that you really, really want in life. And when we talk about what you really want, that's what comes from inside. It's not what other people think of you and what they want of you, but it's what you really want. If you want to be a pilot, you can be a pilot. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you can be an entrepreneur. Just change the way you think, and you can change the way you act and the way you get your result. And it's all matter of taking time for yourself. I remember, I think one of the advice that we pass on to you, a lot of people said, yeah, Mike and Joey, but I have tried a lot of things and it didn't work for me. First you have to forgive yourself, forgive others too, that they don't believe in you, or they make you feel belittled, feel like unworthy, and you don't have anything in life to give. Forgive yourself, forgive other, because when you start to look deep in yourself, you have a tremendous reservoir of power within you, because you were born to be rich, you were born to be successful, you were born to be, have more in life, do more in life, be more in life. And it's all come down the way you think. And how can we change the way we think? This is when it's very important to what you listen to, what you're reading, what you're watching, what you smell, what you taste, because it can contribute to the way you think, the way you receive information. And if you don't be careful, you can bombard your mind with negativity, belittle, overwhelm of what happened around the world, and you forget about the world. Just look at what I really want. Do I really want to be, live in the same way that I lived yesterday, or still earn the same earning that I earned 10 years ago? Or I want to change it. And to change it is all about the way you think, the way you look at yourself from inside. Am I worthy? Am I good enough? Am I capable? Start telling a different story. Bob talked about the self-image. We can build the self-image. It take cuts, it take calls, and in the video that we're going to listen to, it remind us, we were born a risk taker. The Mark talk about it. You have to need it more than other people need it. Mike, and whoever's listening, one of the things that I learned from successful people, one of the things that they admit when they build their business, or try to build a career or the wealth they really want in life, they wanted more for other people than what they want. But the thing is sometimes you want it more for others, but they don't want it more for them. And it's hard to build a new self-image in people like that, because they need to realize it's what they really want. Do they really want what I offer? They really want what I provide? I gave for them. It's all come down to what they look at themselves, what is from inside. And when you take a look at what inside of you by asking good question, ask good quality question, from 5 years from today, where I'm gonna live, what I'm gonna achieve, where I'm gonna travel. And that's the same thing I make from a hospital bed 6 years ago. I look at myself, I was overweight, I was, exhausting, um, I didn't like my result. I didn't like, my productivity. I don't like the situation where I am. But I decided that I'm gonna change. I decided I'm gonna do something different from where I used. I'm gonna build a new format in my life, a new structure, new goals that lead me to where I really want to go in 5 years, in 10 years. And here I am today. I'm happy, I'm healthy, and I want to make an impact in other people's life, because when we found that, we were born to be successful, we were born to be rich, we were born to have the thing that we want to have in life. By change the way I think, or the way you think, and connect it with how you feel about it. If it's a positive thing, if it's a good thing for the world and others, and you provide that service through maybe a product or maybe a service, in in a different area of our life, you can achieve what you want in life, because you make that change. And because people see the change in you, people start to attract to you, people start to ask questions. What do? What make you dig? What make you change? What make you do things that unbelievable for your age? A lot of people said, we can't do this, I'm too old for this, but you still do it anyway, because we make the decision to change the way we look at ourselves. and we ask deep question, what do I really want? You know, do I really want to achieve happiness, or I really want to happily achieve happiness in my life? And that's why, you know, when we understand that concept, we do what we love and we share it with the world, no matter what. And no matter what the world will judge me or judge Mike, we just go out there and just keep planting the seed, because we know that some of the seed will definitely grow grow in a good soil. And good soil mean people. When people accept ideas, great ideas, and run with it, they will do amazing thing. And guess what happened? Our hope and our wish that one day when you become success, because you take something from this podcast and you run with it, and you change the way you think, change the way how you feel, and change the way how you act, do, and become, and your result change, and your family will reap the result, and generation from generation will reap your result. And we hope that our name will appear on your testimony. And that's the legacy we want to live with Mike. You know, we want you to be happy. We want you to be healthy. We want you to be, you know, challenge yourself and get out of your comfort zone and make a positive impact in people's life. Hey, change your self-image is your inner you. You know, get that child to come out and live happily ever after. You know, go out and running, kick the soccer ball, you know, jump higher, you know, swim longer, run faster. You can do it by change the way you think. Think about yourself, feel about yourself, and go out and do something about it, so that whatever you think about it and feel about it will reflect in the way your result, your health, your success, and your wealth creation. Hey, go out there and make a positive impact in people's life. It's myself and Mike McKinnon. We appreciate you. We're proud of you. And hopefully we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Joey, amazing. And it does come down to this: intentionally act on the thing that you want. And that's a quote from Joye Unga, by the way. Just think, Joey, $1 million difference maker, Maka Unga, right? And to be honest, you know, Joe, like you know, you kind of, you did it. You said it all nicely there. It is. You started off by talking about energy, and of course, energy. You know, we know that it can't be created or destroyed. You know, and this energy that's coming to us, we're looking at that diagram. You know, where our thoughts control our feelings control our actions, and our actions control our results. And what Joey's talking about, if you don't like the results that you're getting, you know, you've got to change the actions, and that starts by changing, you know, how you're thinking. And get in touch with Joey, because he's got a lot of info, a lot of good audio books, you know, that he can recommend. Books that, you know, Think and Grow Rich, one off the top of my head right away. You know, for me, you know, my gateway book was The Magic of Thinking Big. Great book. I'll kind of go back to it. But, you know, The Science of Getting Rich for me is probably one of the best books. Only short. You can read it in 3 hours, 4 hours. You know, I read that a couple of times a year. And again, you know, me, Joey, for me, I'll be honest with you, right? And we'll finish out, and then we'll watch that video. You know, me learning more about myself, you know, helps me communicate better with me. And as a result, it helps my relationships with other people. You know, it helps me communicate better with other people. And I think that's what it's about. And, you know, we talk a lot about, you know, leaving people feeling valued, you know, when we're having conversations with them, leaving them with an impression of increase. And that's what we hope, sincerely hope, that we can do for people. And Joey said it, you know, like, just to, you know, like, you are better than you think you are. You really are. And, you know, Joey's talking about it, Bob's talking about it, how you've got this potential inside of you. You know, we believe in you, and we want you to do well. That's really what it's about, isn't it? And but listen, look, you know, go and find Joey and the links in the description. Come and find me at the links in the description. You find me at the academy, and book a call. Happy to talk to you. I'll be the first to tell you if this isn't right for you. Right? It might not be. And again, look, we want to work with people that want to work with us, and you know, we want to help and make a difference. You know, and grow. And that's what it's all about. Right, let's watch this video because I always get something from it. And you've been watching Freedom, Health and Lifestyle, episode 133, The Secret of Self-Image. Change how you see yourself changes everything. Right, see you next week.
You see, we are created in a magnificent vibration, in an absolutely magnificent vibration. Born risk takers. Free. That conditioning takes place after birth. You can change it. It takes guts. It takes goals. And you know something? You're sitting there watching this and you're thinking, my God, I'm going to change something. I always say, keep reminding yourself that you have tremendous reservoirs of potential within you, and therefore you are quite capable of doing anything you set your mind to. You really can. I don't care what the cynics tell you. Quit listening to some of your peers. Now all you must do is figure out how you can do it, not whether you can or not. When are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? You've got to create a sense of urgency. I'm going to do it right now.
If you can see it, you can do it. But the beautiful truth is you can do anything. We got to know there is a place. There is a specific frequency. And if you get on that frequency, you're going to attract what you need to you. This is what it's all about. Why have you been endowed with such awesome powers? If you'll make a committed decision, this I'm going to do. And you don't have to know how. You do not have to know how. The second you make the committed decision, you flip your brain onto the frequency that you have to be on to attract what you have to attract to manifest the thing that you want. If you can see it, you can do it. It's got to be something you want. Wants come from inside. Act like you're already there. Walk, talk, speak, live like you're already there. Don't set a small goal. Don't set something that doesn't really wind your stem. Set it so big it jazzes you. It really gets you going. When something of a very high nature resonates with the very high side of you, you'll know it. You'll know it. You will feel it. Feeling is conscious awareness of vibration. The only prerequisite, do you want it? Not do you need it, not could you do it. The only prerequisite is, do you want it? Take the lid off your marvelous mind and dream. For goodness sake, give yourself the right to do that. Get your analytical mind out of the way. Put it in your pocket for a while. All you're doing is exploring, daydreaming. What did Lawrence say? All men dream, but not equally. Those who dream by night in the dusty recesses of their mind waken the day to find that it was vanity. But the dreamers of the day are dangerous men, for they may act their dream with open eyes to make it possible. This I did.